What's up, crew? Thank you so much for tuning back into Scorpio TV. I know it's been a minute since I've recorded in my room, but here we are. I got some new recording equipment in from Amazon today. Today is what? The 9th? November 9th, 2021. Got new recording equipment, better lighting setup, so hopefully the videos come out with better quality. I mean, the quality now is decent, but it could be a lot better. It could be a lot more crisp and clear. No one's complained about it, but I've noticed it myself, and I'm a perfectionist, so I want everything to be 100 when I record these videos. So hopefully this helps. This light is bright as hell, so if it's bright to me, hopefully it's bright and clear to y'all. Like I said, I know it's been a hot minute since I recorded in my bedroom, but I wanted to try out this new recording setup in my room. So before I migrated to the dining room, if I migrate to the dining room, if it looks better in my room, then I will definitely come back to recording videos in my room. I'll probably still do my music reactions in the dining room, but I digress. So the poll I had recently, I said the 2 most voted choices I would upload for you guys, and Creepypastas was number 1, and that short skit video came in as number 2. So I'm gonna give y'all 2 Creepypastas, and I'm gonna give y'all a short skit. Yeah, so be on the lookout for that. But that's enough rambling. We have Creepypasta Jr. They Look Like Trees. Creepypasta uploaded October 26th, 2021. Now, y'all already know all the important links will be down in the description. So without further ado, let's get into it. I know y'all remember this guy.
It wasn't too long after moving into this house that I began to notice something strange. You see, a few months ago I was offered a position with the company I work for, as the new general manager of a branch opening up in a somewhat remote area of West Virginia.
Some good shit.
It might not sound that appealing to some of you, but a general manager's salary in Appalachia goes a lot further than a general employee's salary does in downtown Chicago. My 1-bedroom apartment in Illinois was costing me more than 3 times the cost of the mortgage on my 3-bedroom house here in Harper's Ferry. Regardless, I didn't have any personal ties keeping me in Chicago that were holding me back. No wife, no kids, no family in the area. I had been feeling a little claustrophobic being caught up in the rat race of the big city, and the idea of relocating to somewhere quieter with more space to myself sounded refreshing. Not to mention the nice promotion and salary increase that I was getting out of the deal. The house isn't a mansion or anything, just a little 2-story house on a small plot of land. There are other houses around, but they're quite spaced out a bit along a winding gravel back road that I live on. My nearest neighbors are the ones directly across from me, or at least, their driveway is directly across from mine. Their house actually sits back off the road quite a way, and I could just barely make out the shape of it, past the trees that line their side of the street. They had come over to greet me on the day that I moved in, a sweet elderly couple with adult children that lived out of state. Both of them are retired and wanted to settle down somewhere that they could enjoy the peace and quiet of the mountains. And let me tell you, it is plenty quiet out here.
I'm sure.
Aside from the occasional car driving down the road or pack of roaming dogs meandering around,
Too quiet.
for the most part, there is almost no noise pollution whatsoever.
Must be nice.
My first night here, after I had unloaded the rest of the boxes from my pickup truck, I just stood on my front porch and took a deep breath of the fresh mountain air. The only sound I could hear was the sound of the light wind rustling through the leaves high above me in the hundreds of trees surrounding the road and my property. I had never experienced something so peaceful and quiet living in the city, not even living in the suburbs as a kid with my parents decades ago. But there was also an unsettling quality to it. I guess for a city boy like me, the idea of the nearest person being at least half a mile away from you had put me on edge a bit. There's a comfort in knowing that if you needed help, you could just run outside your apartment and bang on your neighbor's door.
Right.
Or if you needed emergency services, there would probably be a station within a few city blocks of your location.
Right.
The thought that if something happened to me,
Like me.
no one would likely find out about it for weeks always sat stewing in the back of my mind. I made a mental note at the time that I wanted to get a dog or a cat to keep me company. Now that I owned my place, I wasn't bound to the restrictions of pet deposits or leash laws anymore.
Right.
I figured that it would be nice to have a little fluffy creature waiting for me when I got home from work every evening. Or at least, it would certainly break up the solitude of living by myself out in the countryside. Regardless, I settled in pretty quickly, and was beginning to adjust to my new way of life faster than I first intended to. The opening of my job's new location went smoothly, and I was getting along pretty well with my new coworkers. Everything was going great for the first couple of weeks, so much so that I jokingly thought to myself that maybe it had been my calling to live out in the countryside my entire life. But earlier this week, early one evening, I noticed something a little strange as I pulled into my dirt driveway. My usually clear front lawn and the grass beside my house had a surprising number of branches strewn about it. The tree line around my house is a couple 100 feet away on all sides, so even if a wild weather system or windstorm had passed through while I was at work, the branches would have had to be carried hundreds of feet away from the trees that they came off of. But that wasn't the only thing odd about it. The branches were also specifically only near the outside of the house, not spread across the rest of the property.
Yeah.
It almost seemed as if someone had put them around my house intentionally,
Damn.
though I'm not sure what would possess someone to do such a thing. I picked up a few of them and moved them away from my house. As I picked them up, I grimaced and noticed a black sap-like substance coating the bark and stems. There was a distinct sour smell coming from the branches as well.
Don't touch it.
Not something that I was experienced in dealing with as a previous full-time city dweller. I only moved a few of them before giving up and going into the house to wash my hands. I ran the kitchen faucet and scrubbed away the black slime before taking a second to look out of the window above my kitchen sink.
It's disgusting.
I was taken aback for a moment at the beautiful scenery in front of me. Soft yellow sunbeams broke through the branches of the trees at the back of my property, backed by the red and orange sky of a beautiful sunset. For a moment, I forgot all about the weird branches and just took in the beauty of my new home. When I left for work yesterday, I felt a strange pit form in my stomach as I noticed that not only had the branches that I had moved the day before returned to their positions around my house, but also that there were dozens of new branches mixed amongst them. I rubbed my eyes, wondering if maybe the fog and mountain air might be playing tricks on my barely awake weekday brain. But to no avail. The branches were definitely there again. I tried to rationalize in my head what reason there might be for this occurrence, but had to cut it short as I was already running late for work. When I returned that evening, I was greeted by a yard full of branches yet again. It had been a particularly long day at work training the new staff, and my mind and body were exhausted. Without engaging with the branches, I dragged myself inside and began to rummage through my fridge to make myself some dinner. After setting a container of leftovers on the kitchen counter, I paused, remembering that lovely sunset that I had seen through my window the day before. I smiled to myself and made my way over to the sink to take in the reds and yellows that I enjoyed the previous day, but was puzzled by what I saw. Perhaps it was my eyes playing tricks on me or the work of my imagination, but it seemed to me that the trees were a little closer to my house than they had been before. Not only this, but they were so much closer that I could no longer see the red and orange sky that I had previously enjoyed. The beams no longer peeked through the branches, and instead the light from the sun was completely blotted out by the thick rustling leaves.
What are you doing?
It was at that point that I began to question my own sanity. Had I just imagined the sunset from the day before? Were the trees actually closer to the back of my house than they had been previously? I had never really walked to the back of my property after moving in.
Damn.
Had I misremembered how far back the trees were from the back of my house? All of these questions reeled through my head as I tossed my food in the microwave and poured myself a glass of water. I chalked it up to a stressful day and went about the rest of my evening with a creeping feeling in the back of my mind.
Oh my God.
I called it an early night and crawled into bed shortly after eating dinner.
You bullshit.
Maybe my head would be clearer in the morning when I woke up. That brings us to today. I woke up and headed out to my truck to go to work, and my stomach dropped at what I saw. There, in the middle of my front yard, as clear as day, a tree, roughly 20 to 30 feet tall and 2 feet around, was standing only a few feet away from my truck. Now, my mind had betrayed me before, but I'm not crazy enough to forget about a huge tree in the middle of my previously empty front lawn. I approached it slowly, immediately noticing the thin black film along the edges of the bark and the acrid smell that I had encountered once before while clearing away the branches. I touched my hand very carefully to the tree, questioning whether or not I was imagining it. I felt the gross, slimy texture beneath my fingertips as I pressed my fingers against it. But, more importantly, I could swear I felt something moving. Slightly. So very slightly. I would have sworn that I could have felt the tree breathing beneath my fingertips. I recoiled and quickly wiped the grime onto my jacket. I panicked and hurried into my truck, contemplating for a moment what I was going to do. What could I do?
Right.
Call someone? Tell them that a weird sticky tree appeared in my yard overnight? Of course not. So I did the only thing I could think of to do.
Move.
I got in my car and I went to work. I tried to busy myself by throwing myself completely into my job and came home that evening just like everything was normal. A cold shiver ran down my spine as I avoided looking at the new tree in my yard entirely. I paid no mind to the new branches in my yard as well. I kept my eyes forward and went straight into my house. I made my way into the kitchen to retrieve a frozen dinner from the freezer and tossed it into the microwave. I felt a bead of sweat roll down the back of my neck as I contemplated looking out of the window beside me. In the back of my mind, I knew what I would see if I looked out of that window. Dread filled my insides at the thought of facing the kitchen sink and seeing hundreds of trees, much closer than they had been before. So I didn't look. I kept my eyes focused on the microwave in front of me. When the timer beeped, I removed my food, grabbed my knife and fork, and beelined it straight upstairs to eat it in the comfort of my bed. After wolfing down the subpar frozen meal, I tossed the plastic dish onto the nightstand
Subpar.
and turned out the light to go to bed. Sleepless hours have now gone by, and I find myself lying here, paralyzed with fear, watching the shadows and listening to the sounds of multiple branches tapping against my window, echoing in my bedroom.
They're trying to get inside. Pause. Buddy bullshitting. Y'all already know. Yeah, I said it during the video. He bullshitting. He playing around. Like, you got fucking, I won't say haunting you, but you got trees like popping up out of nowhere, getting closer to your house. And then the branches are tapping on your window like fingers. Come on. Bro, how are you so nonchalant about this shit? That's what was tripping me out. Like, he kept saying he's questioning his sanity. Am I really seeing what I'm seeing? No shit. You physically felt this big ass tree that just spawned out of nowhere a few feet away from your house. Like, well, no, he said like what, 20, 30 feet away, something like that. It's still too close for you to be like, oh man, maybe it just popped out of nowhere. No, bruh. Like, but you know what? This creepypasta brings me to a very interesting point that I was having this discussion. I'm not gonna ramble on, but I was having this discussion with one of my partners the other day, and he asked me, "Am I afraid to live alone?" Because I've been on my own for 2.5 years now. It'll be 3 years that I've had my apartment in 2022 at the end of August, because that's when I signed my lease in 2019 for this apartment. And he asked me, he asked me, do I get scared or unnerved living alone? At first, I was unnerved because I was always used to being in a house with my folks, but literally after about a few months, maybe a couple weeks, between like a couple weeks to like 2 months, I got used to it. But just like this video, if I leave my house, I know where every single thing is, where everything is, where it's sitting at. From my bedroom to the kitchen to the dining room to the bathroom to the living room to shit that I got up in my closets. If I leave and I come home and something is not where I left it, I automatically know that it's been moved or tampered with, whatever, however you want to put it. And I don't play those games. I have a security camera that watches my front door and my balcony door, right? I live on the second floor. The only way you're going to get into my apartment is through the balcony door or my actual apartment door. So that's why I have the camera facing. Do I ever think someone's going to break in? No, but you never know, especially nowadays. People are getting desperate. People are crazy and all that. But he kept questioning himself. This guy in this creepypasta kept questioning himself, asking himself, am I really seeing what I'm really seeing? Are these trees getting closer? Like, dude, you should know, like, when some shit pop up out of fucking nowhere that wasn't there before or has never moved before, and now shit's changing up on you. Come on, fam. Yeah, he was bullshitting. Like I said, if I leave this house, I could leave this house for 3 days. If I come back after 3 days, right? Let's say I'm at some girl's house or I don't know. I don't go on vacation like this. So let's just say I'm at some girl's house for like 3 days, right? Clapping cheeks, all that shit. Scorpio shit. And I come back after being gone for 3 days, I am still going to notice if something's out of place or if something wasn't how it was when I first left. Just like when I go to work 8 hours a day at this job I'm currently at, I come back after 8 hours, I'm going to notice if something has been moved or tampered with. Just like if I'm gone for 3 days, clapping a girl's cheeks at her house, spending the night in her bed, in her room. I come back to my place after spending the night at her house, I look the whole apartment over. I'm going to notice some shit out of place. If y'all agree with me, if y'all got that same sense, let me know down in the comment section. Just tell me I'm not alone. I have an extreme eye for detail, so I notice little shit like that. But Buddy was bullshitting. The trees are probably going to end up getting his ass if he doesn't move. What did y'all think? Do y'all see where I'm coming from? Do y'all think he was bullshitting? Let me know all of that down in the comment section. That's all I got for y'all. Hope y'all drop a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Make sure the bell icon is tapped so you will get notified every time I drop new content, Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays. I want y'all to stay safe, stay blessed, stay humble, and I will see you all in the next video.
Sound good right there. That sound good right. That sound good right there.